The conversation is about to heat up. Welcome to Fireside Chat Radio with Larry Biddle, Marshall Biddle, Freakin' Deacon, and Banana Jack Murphy. Who knew history could be so hot?
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to another edition of... It's chilly in here. Somebody call the Jerry Cox Company.
I'm telling you, we got gas.
It is Fireside Chat Radio. Say hello, Marshall Biddle.
Hey, good morning, Jack. How are you, my friend?
Doing fine. Hello, Deacon.
Well, hello, everybody.
Legendary Freakin' Deacon, everybody.
Yeah, well, had to be that way. Had to have a name.
Larry Biddle joins us as well.
Good morning. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, try to hold those religious comments down this week.
I got you. No problem.
History lesson in here before we get the show started. Well, joining us here as our special guest this week is a good friend of mine. He's known Freakin' Deacon a little bit longer, but
I owed him money a little longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're square, right? My check didn't bounce back in the fall.
Yeah, people were paid.
That's good. That's always a good thing. The one and only Duane Farmer, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
For those that may not know Duane, he grew up in the sleepy little village of Mount Airy, a.k.a. Mayberry. What was that like?
That's right, Mount Airy, North Carolina. Well, actually growing up there, I was actually born in the big town of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My dad was stationed up in Pittsburgh, and I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But after a year, Dad got orders to go to Germany, so he said, "You're going back to my hometown to live." So we moved to Mayberry, Mount Airy, North Carolina. So, back then, nobody knew anything about it. Actually, 1960 was when the Andy Griffith Show started.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knew. They knew that Andy Griffith was from Mount Airy and that Mayberry was kind of a takeoff on our town. But the popularity was not there, even though it was a number one show every year that it played. And it's just amazing that when you grow up there, you never put it together. But after leaving, after joining the Air Force and traveling around the world and ending up, next thing you know, after they lost textiles and tobacco, now their number one source of income in that town is tourism, all because of Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show.
I remember when I would leave Myrtle Beach, go back to Huntington to visit, I'd always take 52, and when I got up there, we'd go right through Mount Airy. Before I jump on 77, and there was the only thing I ever saw. I never went in downtown, just always followed 52, and ended up at a Skylight or Skyline restaurant out on the highway there. Remember?
Yep, the Skyline.
They had a picture of Andy in there, and that was the most impressive thing I'd ever seen. The guys, oh yeah, he's from here.
Well, growing up, the only thing that we knew was when you went by the bus station, they had a big, 3 foot by 4 foot picture of Andy Griffith, and right next to it was a picture of Donna Fargo, the happiest girl in the USA, because she was from Mount Airy.
Really?
Yeah, my mom used to work with her sister at the phone company, and I got to talk to Donna a few times on the telephone. She's a very nice lady, but those were our two claims to fame, and that was the only thing in Mount Airy that you knew we had any inkling of being famous was a picture of Andy Griffith and a picture of Donna Fargo.
But boy, how impressive though! Especially, my gosh, Andy Griffith, guy was an icon.
Yes, he was, and he still is. And Don Knotts, just amazing talent that man had. But growing up, you're right. It was a sleepy little town. You're right at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and like you said, 3.5 hours later, you'd be in this little town. 4 hours later, you'd be in a little town called Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little town.
Yeah.
So I left when I was 17. I joined the United States Air Force. Mom and Dad had to sign for me to join the Air Force. And, you get down there and they do all your physicals and they cut your hair and they put you in your suit and then they say, "Where would you like to be stationed?" I said, "Myrtle Beach, South Carolina." I thought that was a free ticket to get to Myrtle Beach. Sure. Said, "Well, you know what? If you'll go to the Philippines
there you go.
for 18 months, we'll give you Myrtle Beach on a return trip." I said, "Deal."
Oh, yeah.
So I got to go halfway around the world just to get to Myrtle Beach. But I got stationed here in September 5th, 1980. A friend of mine drove me down from Mount Airy and dropped me at the Air Force Base and said, "Enjoy it." So here I was, no car, no nothing. I walked on the base, gave him my paperwork, and, I was part of the 2066 Communications Squadron there at the Air Force Base. And the first thing I did once you got settled was, I want to go see the beach. And from the Air Force Base, it's less than a mile and a half, and you're at the
Oh,
beach.
yeah.
The old Spring Maid,
Mhm.
the state park and Spring Maid, and the A-10s whistling in over the pier. But I didn't have a car, and I put on these headphones. I got these really cool headphones like you used to wear at the NASCAR tracks to hear the race.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was only one station to listen to, and that was KZQ, and that's when I heard the sparkling voice of Mr. Freakin' Deacon, Buffalo Bill, Chris Williams, Bill
Oh,
Hennessy,
yeah.
that whole crew. And I would walk from the Air Force Base all the way to the pavilion, hang out all day, and then walk all the way back.
That was a nice little walk.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
that's a track.
And then I got my first vehicle, my 1977 Chevy van. And then
Wrote a song about it.
yeah, and then it was, going down the boulevard, that was the cool thing. And you could slide open your door until the cops got it, and they'd slam it back and don't open it again,
Oh, yeah.
But, Myrtle Beach was, the 80s in Myrtle Beach was fantastic.
Well, how did you end up over at Mother Fletchers? Because you were the club jock there.
Well, actually, when I was in the Air Force, I was still DJing and I was still doing Elvis. So, I used to sing at the Beach Wagon about every Wednesday night for talent night,
Okay.
get out your Beach Wagon, and I was doing Elvis.
What was the prize there?
There was no prize. It was
Okay.
just talent night. Everybody just got up and sang with the band. Silver
Okay.
Nickel Band, Jimmy Austin and,
forever.
Earl the Pearl Truitt. Those guys, they were a great band. And so I got out of the Air Force. Technically, I was in the beachwear business. I had a good friend that had a beachwear store, and I was in the beachwear business. And then somebody said they needed somebody. Oh, no, I'll tell you what it was. I started doing lip sync contests at Xanadu's.
Okay.
Xanadu's in 2001 were both doing lip sync contests. Well, Greg Larimore and the gang from Fletcher's were at Xanadu's watching the lip sync contest, and they said that guy right there would be fun in the DJ booth with Roy McLeod, who was the senior DJ there. And so they asked me, they said, we'll give you $35 a week and all the beer you can drink.
Wow.
I said,
what
well,
a deal.
What a
I
deal.
said I don't drink. He said, well, Coke then. We'll give you Coca-Cola, whatever you want, $35 a night, And I said, sure, I'll take it, because I think I was painting billboards at the time for Peterson Outdoor Advertising when I wasn't at the beachwear store. So I started doing that, and then Roy, would take a night off, and they needed a backup DJ, and he was always bringing these guys in from Charlotte or wherever else.
Sure.
And I said, well, let me DJ. And I had DJ'd some when I was in the Air Force and overseas in the Philippines. So I started DJing. Next thing you know, I was his definite backup, and then we opened up Streamers up on the north end.
Sure.
So Roy went to Streamers, and I stayed at Fletcher's. And that's how it came to be with the world famous wet T-shirt contest and ladies bikini contest and all the fun hot legs, all the fun stuff we used to do. My call-ins to KZQ every night. It's
Sure.
twice on the hour. Yeah, we did.
Well, you knew you arrived when you got down in the Kearney section of Myrtle Beach, buddy. You were right in the middle of it.
When you're
I'm
under the
telling
shadow of the astronaut. Well, actually,
you. Yeah.
my Kearney bit, I actually can say I was kind of like a Kearney. When I was in the Air Force, my first extra job was running the mechanical bull down at the Grand Strand Amusement Park
Oh, yeah.
for old Bill Parker.
Yeah.
Down there, you ride till you fall off for $2. And we would make a show out of it, because once you've had the bull and you've ridden the bull, and this one was computer operated, all you had to do was press buttons. It wasn't one of those joystick kinds.
Oh, okay.
This was computer programmed.
Wow.
And I could go in there and I could hit 333, and I could run and jump on it while it was bucking, and I could ride it with no hands. So I made it look so easy. Then people give you that $2, ride till you fall off, and that most of them couldn't even ride the 333, but I could ride it wide open. If I caught that first dip, I could hold on for that 8 seconds, because if you didn't, it would sling you clear off the thing.
Yeah,
But that was- I
Parker
was-
told me one time he's making more money off the bull. I said, really? He said, well, off the sides of the bull. So when they get left, so I'd find change at night, man.
Oh, yeah, we had that big
hundreds.
pad, and you lift
Yeah.
up that pad, there's money, all kinds of stuff, So driver's license, credit cards. That's how we
Oh,
paid
wow.
some bills,
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
But the club business, once you were in the club business in Myrtle Beach, Myrtle Beach has always been, you scratch my back, I scratch your back town, and everybody knew, all the DJs knew each other, all the waitresses, all the bartenders, and we all did stuff. But between Xanadu's and Fletchers and Castaways and Studebakers and Cowboys in 2001, I mean, just it was amazing. And to look at it now, no freestanding clubs. We have one freestanding club, I believe. 2001, well, 3001 now.
Right.
And we still got the Galleon, I believe, is still open. But back in the day, man, the nightlife in Myrtle Beach you couldn't get any better.
Well, back in those days, all the Holiday Inns, just about every motel had a band in their lounge. And it was you go up and down Ocean Boulevard, man. It was just really an entertainment.
Or the pool decks. I mean, all the the Sharks down at the Holiday Inn, and the first time I met Alabama while they were still playing here was when I was in the Air Force at the NCO Club. They were still playing a gig. They had a number one a song going. Why Lady Why was climbing the charts, and they were still playing the NCO Club because they had booked those dates and they didn't want to, get out of the contract. So here they are, almost number one country act in America, and they're still playing the NCO Club there at the Air Force Base.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's called character.
Yeah, you bring up memories. I did some NCO Club up at Seymour Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
In Goldsboro.
The F-15s up there, baby. We had the A-10s. They had the F-15s.
Those A-10s, though, don't you miss them even
I
today?
Do. Watching the football yesterday, 4 of them flew over for the first game. I was like, look at those A-10s. That whistle coming in over the pier at Spring May, just hearing that whistling. And I had a friend that lived in Andrews, and we'd go down there and we'd dove hunt and stuff like that. And they used to do their sorties down there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just amazing to see some of the figure eights. Those the best plane in the Air Force inventory, if you ask me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tank busters.
I mean, you could shoot the wings off of it and they can still fly it in.
Gatling gun going.
Oh, yeah, the Warthog, baby.
Yeah, Warthog.
Now, Andrus, it's Andrus. Over next Andrus. That's how they say it.
Yeah, but me being from North Carolina, it's Andrews.
I know.
That's like when you meet somebody. Where are you from? Lancaster. That must be Pennsylvania because it's Lancaster if you're from South Carolina.
Yeah, it's the English pronunciation.
Beaufort, Buford, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, and then you go up north to Massachusetts and they say, "Oh, I'm on Peabody." You mean Peabody? No, it says Peabody. No, it's Peabody. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Can't keep up with it.
That's it. That's where my oldest daughter was raised, in Gloucester. Yes, get some lobster up there.
Gloucester.
And I'm surprised any kid in North Carolina could pass geography because Greenville was in Pitt County, and Rockingham was in what county? Richmond County.
Yes, it was.
Not in Rockingham County. It was all crazy up there.
Yeah, but South Carolina and North Carolina both just the best place in the world to grow up.
Yeah, it really was.
Because especially living in Mount Airy, like I said, you had the mountains right here 2 minutes away, and then you had the beach 4 hours away. And living at the beach, you know that you can go to the mountains. And this Piedmont area, that whole Piedmont area, just beautiful place to grow up in, and just great people.
Now, what about your characters? Yeah, I know you're into the character thing, man. Call you Batman, Elvis. You do a bunch of different things.
There's no use to just limit it to one thing. You got the experience. Like I grew up, when I was 11 years old. Well, actually, it was before that. The first Elvis movie I remember seeing was a double at the drive-in. It was Live a Little, Love a Little, and Speedway. Mm-hmm. So it had to be 68, 69. So I was about 8 years old, and Mom took me to see Elvis, and here he comes out in this Volkswagen. I mean, not Volkswagen, this dune buggy, singing, and had a big old Great Dane, and he was just having a ball, and he'd be in the middle of nothing just to get a good. We gotta win this race, just out of nowhere. Music would start playing, and all the girls loved him. So I told Mom, I said, I want to be him. She said, "Oh, you like Elvis?" And so she starts pulling out these records, these big. Kids don't know what records are anymore, but they're big vinyl things, Licorice Pizza, But I would wear those out, and then Mama said, "You know what?" And I got to see him in the '68 TV special. I got to see him Aloha, and then my mother got us tickets to see him in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was 11 years old the first time I saw Elvis.
Wow!
And I got to see him every year until he passed away in Greensboro. So I started doing them in school. I started, I was going to be Elvis. I was doing it at 12 years old on the back porch of my neighbor's houses, and my mother had this Electrolux vacuum cleaner, and I would pull out the extension cord and use it for my mic cord because I was lip syncing back then. But if you went too far, the cord would jerk back into your hand. So, I was wireless before everybody, Yeah. But when I was in the Air Force, I was still doing Elvis, and Then when I got out of the Air Force, like I said, I was at the Beach Wagon, and I was always doing Elvis. And finally, Jimmy Austin said, Duane, do you do anybody other than Elvis? He said, you do the same 2 or 3 songs every week. So I started doing Jerry Lee Lewis and started doing Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry. And really, I love the 50s music. So I started doing that. And then, like you said, I got into DJing. And while I was DJing, Roy McLeod had these Mickey Mouse spin covers. When you're DJing, you got to be able to slip covers. You got to be able to spin those vinyl records. And so I went up to a buddy of mine's record shop, and he had these Batman logos. And I said, man, that's cool. So I put these Batman logos on my turntables, and everybody would come up to the DJ and say, hey, Batman. Then they started bringing me little toys and putting on the DJ booth windows. So next thing I know, I'm going to flea markets and stuff, and now I have probably about $50,000 worth of Batman toys and comics and collectibles and whatnot over the years. So there's Elvis and there's Batman. I'm an artist. I've designed stuff in Myrtle Beach. Do you remember that little place called Rock Burger?
Yeah, I do.
I designed Rock Burger. Danny Applebaum and his brother Doran. I used to sit in there and I drew cartoons all the time while I was at the bar. And he said, can you make me a logo? And next thing you know, I'm making a logo. I'm designing the front of the building. I'm doing all the neon work and all the artwork inside. And so I won an award for it because that big jukebox out there, we wanted to put it on the ground and make it a real big jukebox. But they said, you can't do that. You have to make it a sign. So it was actually, if you went by there, it was about 2 inches off the ground.
Right.
It came out at an angle and went back. So it was actually a sign. So we won an award from Sign of the Times magazine for that big jukebox.
Well, that's very creative.
But Hugo took that jukebox and did something with it.
Oh, yeah.
In 89, Hugo said, I want that jukebox.
Yeah, that was the north turnaround, cruising the boulevard. You go down past Rockburger.
That's
hang
it.
a left, go down the back, come down the little alley, back onto the main drag. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I did
Nostalgia.
Rockburger, and then with the lip sync contest, Rick Springfield, Elvis Presley. I did Alvin and the Chipmunks one year.
Oh, my.
I did Twisted Sister one time. I mean, we just, in the 80s, you had MTV, so you had all these videos. I did the Stray Cats, we did everything. And so I started doing different characters, and Roy McLeod posted something on Facebook yesterday that he's doing some audition for, like, Redneck Florida Talent Contest. I said, I got 3 racks of costumes. I'll be glad to send you whatever you need.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because I've been collecting costumes, and I can actually still fit my clothes from the 80s, so I still have all my
how
costumes.
you managed to pull that off?
I know, right?
I'm always on the run. I never stop.
Yeah.
Because after DJing, I had my own company in Rock Hill, South Carolina, where I met my lovely wife. And she said, I want you to quit being a bum. I want you to get a real job.
Oh, dear. That's
Here,
no fun.
I was doing really good. And she said, I want you to get a real job with insurance. And so in 2000, I joined Mr. Herman Stone in Consolidated Theaters. So for the last 23 years, I've been in the movie business. And still DJing and singing and doing artwork.
You just
and
continue
whatever.
to do all the stuff you did on the side.
But I do have a real job now, and she's happy that.
Well, you're busy with that. I mean, that's just that's pocket money.
Yeah,
That's
well,
just
see,
throwaway money.
my real job is running a movie theater, and I have a great staff and management. I have a great company I work for. But when people say, well, what do you like to do? Well, I have my Caravan of Stars, which is my oldies group, kind of like Sha Na Na. And then I have my band called The Unpluggables. We do classic rock. And then, I do my DJ and my karaoke, kind of like you do.
Right, sure.
And so I've always got something going on. This weekend I'm doing a father-daughter dance in Florence. So I just don't like to sit still.
Yeah.
Because you get old if you sit still.
It's silly. It's silly. There's so many opportunities out there for folks, and I've always admired you because you're always doing multiple things, and I know you're strange because I'm strange.
Well, this weekend we did the polar plunge. When I say people do, they're like, how you get in that cold water? I don't. I'm the one on the microphone telling everybody else to get in the water.
Right.
But this was my 12th year with the Special Olympics with Marcus Rhodes and the torch run and the stuff with Horry County. And we raised over $75,000.
That's awesome.
With COVID, usually this thing started 17 years ago, and we used to do it at Spring Mate, and they have the games, they're doing tug of war on the beach and all that stuff and volleyball. And all the schools would come out. I mean, North Myrtle Beach High School would raise, $17,000 on their own. all the schools and Myrtle Beach Police came in this year. But now with COVID and all the restrictions, we didn't have that big of a turnout, but we still raised $75,000.
That's
So,
awesome.
We do a little bit of everything, and I've worked with the Red Cross, the March of Dimes. If you don't give back to your community, how can you expect your community to give back to you?
That's right. If you're just joining us, shame, you're missing some good stuff. Batman's with us.
Batman.
Elvis is with us.
That's right.
He's a man who's
Thank you very much, man.
got
Thank
a
you.
lot of personalities, really. Duane Farmer. Let's talk a little bit about streamers, because I think I'm correct in saying that opened in the late 80s?
It did. I left in 89, so it was like 87, 88.
Okay.
They started building in 86, and it was based off the club Confetti's in Pittsburgh,
Okay.
and also Plum Crazies in Charlotte, which is where I ended up going to after I left Mother Fletchers, was at Plum Crazy. But it was 2
John
floors.
Boy used to go up to Plum Crazy, didn't he?
Oh yeah, it was two floors.
Blow off over that one.
Streamers was 2 floors, and Drew Blair, great artist, he did some really cool artwork in there. And the main stage was a jukebox, and then Roy's DJ booth was over top of the jukebox. Had a lot of great bands play there. The Stray Cats played there. A great tribute band. First time they were ever seen in South Carolina. 1964, the Beatles tribute band.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah.
played there back in the 80s. I mean, those guys have been together forever. But a lot of great talent. We had the Commodores opened up the club. If you remember that, that was their first band, was the Commodores. And I mean, it had the state-of-the-art lighting. Roy had 4 turntables. He had the big Rain MP24 mixer, and he had 4 turntables. And he had the cart machine from the radio station for all our drops,
Right.
We had it going on. Streamers was a fun place. So Roy went to Streamers. I stayed at Fletcher's and kept the fires burning down there. Somebody's got to pour the water.
Well, the world-famous Mother Fletchers T-shirt.
Oh, my lands.
I've heard different stories of how many T-shirts that were actually printed and handed out. It was an astronomical number.
Yeah, when I wasn't DJing, like I said, I like to keep busy. I would clean the club during the daytime.
Okay.
They had to pay
Somebody's gotta
somebody.
do it.
They had to pay somebody to do it. All it is a vacuum cleaner, blower, and industrial sprayer for the restrooms. But they say, Mr. Duane, we've got a T-shirt order coming in. And then they would back this big U-Haul or, Penske truck, big, probably a 24-footer. And here comes this. Next thing I know, there's, 400 dozen, gross,
Yeah.
I'm talking. And that was the first drop of the, for
Sure.
spring break, because we had the spring break shirts, then we had the summer shirts.
Yeah.
So, you would not believe just the astronomical, because even on team night, I mean, people would come just to get the shirt. They would pay that $8 or $9 to get in, whatever it was. They get their shirt and they turn around and leave. They didn't want to go to the club. They just wanted that shirt because everybody had one. And this was before the Panama Jacks and the Jamaica Joes really hit the beach. This was probably the first shirt that everybody had to have from Myrtle Beach. And, the original logo was really, it was like a couple dancing with a fire tree growing on it. And then Ron Zwingelberg redid the design.
Using the full name on there. Throw it out there.
Yeah,
I love
Ron
it.
Zwingelberg.
Yeah,
Everybody knows him as Ron Zwing. But he revamped the logo. And I know you've revamped it since then. But he revamped the logo, and all of a sudden, the shirts took off again. And team night, even on team night, we would be packed on Sunday nights just for those T-shirts. The kids have to have the T-shirts, the parents, and people would come down. I need 8 T-shirts. They'd come. Starlene Shaper was our T-shirt girl, and all night long, just shirts. Just selling.
Sure.
If they weren't getting them at the door, she was selling them at the T-shirt booth.
Yeah.
I had a kid tell me one time, I went down to give me a T-shirt and it was all wet. I said, well, I wonder why. That's right.
And Deacon will tell you, and too, this was before Facebook.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right.
People would show you pictures where they were in Indonesia or they were over in Australia.
Sure.
And somebody's wearing a Mother Fletchers T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The T-shirt was the world famous Mother
really
Fletchers T-shirt. It was.
I saw them
It
everywhere.
was.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter said, "Dad, you're never going to believe this. I was watching a TV show the other night,
Yep.
and a girl had on a Mother Fletchers T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So she sent me a
The
screenshot
L
of it.
word.
Yeah, that's what it was. She's wearing a Mother Fletchers t-shirt.
Right.
Not that I watched that show. It just caught me off guard.
I have a Mother Fletchers staff jacket, so
I do too.
See, there you go. We've got the
Mine's
red. The red and white
I
staff
got the
jacket.
red
The
one.
streamers, my streamers is white with the streamers logo on it. but,
Okay.
Well,
know.
you also have the logo that used to.
Yes, I do.
people
I can't
walked under.
believe that I didn't get that before you did.
I
But
know.
I'm glad you got it.
Yes.
Well,
'Cause it-
we both
you
have a
should
friend
have
in
it.
common, Robbie down at R&R, and we got to talking when I got back into town, and Mixon Dixon was still working there. And he said, Duane, he says, I know who has the Mother Fletchers logo off the end of the
Awning.
awning there. I said, really? He said, who's that? He said, freaking Deacon's got it. So from that point on, every
That's
time I
right.
saw Deacon,
Hey,
you
man.
ready to get rid of that thing? You
Oh,
ready to get rid of that thing?
I mean, I got to see it. I got to touch it because we had it on the wall
Right.
when we did
We
the
kept it
Q-Rock
on the wall.
experiment up
That's
there
exactly
at Broadway
right.
at the beach.
I was there.
So this
Yeah.
was the awning that was on
The
17.
original. Yeah, the
and-
original.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, it was on
Mother
the original.
Fletchers.
'Cause,
And I'll tell you how that came to be. Jimmy Lathan cut it off. He the day they were tearing down the building, he went over. He said he grabbed a guy's ladder and he took a blade and cut the load, cut it pretty nice.
he did. It's very nice.
And on down there, he kept it for a few years, and then he showed Deacon. Said, "Look, if you want this, you can have it." I said, "What?" I said, "Well, man, we'll hang it up down at the Q-Rock." And he said, "Oh, cool." He says, "Well, you can just keep it." So sure. So I kept it. And I was going to frame it and all that. I got thinking, really, you kept hitting me for it. And I thought, well, you were there, you worked there, and that would be the perfect memento for you. You spent so many years.
Well, if you
there.
ever,
Yeah. Yeah.
not going to happen, but ever, call me.
Well, next year, hopefully, we'll have this show done down at my museum. I'm building my own museum. My wife
you
calls
and
it
Dr. Fauci.
My,
It's
my,
incredible.
my wife calls it my man cave. I call it my museum.
Right.
Because it's going to have my rock and roll collection. It's going to have my Batman collection. It's going to have my everything collection in it. And so it's going to hopefully be, now that the COVID prices have come back down, we're going to get it built this year. And we'll do one of these round tables live at the Bat Cave.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. Call it the Amuse-Seum. A museum.
But the downstairs is going to be mostly all Batman, and the upstairs is all rock and roll.
That's cool.
Got some really cool.
That's
neat-
kind of crazy. You got it backwards, man. Maybe you ought to just have Batman up top, and then you come down on the bat pole.
No, there's going to be a bat pole.
I figured there would be.
There's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
coming from one of the back bedrooms, sliding down to the downstairs. But
Put
the
mirrors on
problem
the wall
is
anywhere?
if you have the pole, it has to be connected to the ceiling and go to the floor, right?
Right.
So in that room, there's going to be a pole. So you might as well put a little stage there and a few little lights, and
Yeah, right.
at least for my club days,
I love it. I love it.
But
Good
the downstairs
stuff.
is going to be all Batman, and I have an extensive rock and roll collection that I have collected over the years, autographs and different things like that from people I've hung out with and toured with and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting.
All
Guitars everywhere and lots of Elvis memorabilia. I got my jumpsuits on my mannequins and my Elvis stuff.
I love it. It's Duane Farmer here on Fireside Chat Radio. We're out of time for this broadcast, but we'll get him back on the next edition so we can hear more stories about Mother Fletchers and the club scene and his love of Elvis Presley. Duane, thank you
very
so
much.
much for joining us here on Fireside Chat Radio, presented by the Jerry Cox Company.
I enjoyed it.
Hello, this is Hank. I'm joined today by legendary bluesman Spotty Rain to talk about the Jerry Cox Company. Spotty, how do you feel when you're ready to have a smoking hot barbecue, but you're out of gas? Now, how do you feel when you've got a tank full of gas from the Jerry Cox Company? Whoa, I almost got the happy feet, I tell you what. Gas up your next barbecue with the Jerry Cox Company, 3104 Highway 701 North in Conway, your headquarters for propane and propane accessories. Yep.
Uncovering the mysteries of history. This is Fireside Chat Radio.